Hey guys, Sean here. Welcome to the F1 Word Live and to the qualifying watch-along for the Singapore Grand Prix. Probably, in terms of a backdrop, the most spectacular race of the year. Let's hope the on-track action lives up to that spectacle. I tell you what, if FP3 is that a thing? FP3, yes. If FP3 is anything to go by this morning, it's certainly going to be an interesting one. I think Verstappen topped FP1, Hamilton topped FP2. This morning, Leclerc topped FP3. Are Ferrari in the fight? I doubt it, but you never know. It is only practice after all. A good afternoon to Andrew Robinson, Christian, ex-gamer. I think I saw Jess as well. I think Liam's here too. Isaac Panos, is that? Good afternoon to all of you. If you're in the UK, Carter Smith as well. Thanks for coming along and joining us for this. I will be joined by Dan as well in a moment, and I can tell you, based on conversations we've had, he's pretty hyped. So we'll try and keep him calm as best we can. But if it's your first time tuning in, we'll do about half an hour of build up towards the session. Then we're going to have live timing for Planet F1. No on-track footage, obviously, for copyright reasons. And then we'll do a little bit of a quick roundup at the end of this one as well. We'll also be live tomorrow for the race watch-along, or I will be. From around about 1:30, 1:40 p.m. time. Good afternoon to everybody in chat who's saying hello. A pleasure, as always, to have you with us. I think I'm just going to get straight to it. I've called him hyped. I think it's a fair point. I think he's going to be pretty delighted with the news that came out early this week, even if 99.9% of the F1 community have no idea why Haas have done what they've done. But good afternoon to Dan, the happiest Grosjean fan.
The only Grosjean fan, I feel sometimes. Yes, it's been a good weekend. I'll put it that way. And I think we're in store for a good quali session today and a good race tomorrow. So, hello, everybody.
I was going to start with Grosjean. However, Helmut Marko's been talking again, which gets us all very excited when Helmut Marko starts gabbing on about things. But apparently, according to him anyway, the seat at Toro Rosso for Daniel Kvyat is confirmed for 2020, air quotes, internally. So he's going to be staying at Toro Rosso next year. But the Red Bull seat is apparently still between Pierre Gasly and Alexander Albon. It's an interesting bunch of comments, pretty much writing Kvyat out of that seat already, Dan. Are you surprised by that? Or is this just what I've always been saying this last 6 months, that there's no way Helmut Marko is going to swallow his pride twice on Kvyat?
I think I am a little bit surprised. I agree with what you've just said there. I think he's a very proud man, and biting the bullet on that would be a lot to take. But I think we've learned already in 2019, perhaps it's a little bit too early to promote Gasly. And with Albon, I think he's been really good in these first two races with Red Bull, but this weekend is our first real chance to compare him to Verstappen. And of course, it's Max Verstappen, arguably one of the best drivers on the grid, if not the best. So I don't expect him to be right there a tenth behind. I don't expect that at all, considering it's his third race for Red Bull. But the first weekend, he started at the back. Last time out in Monza, Verstappen started from the back. So comparisons, or real comparisons, will start now. And this will be when Gasly and Albon are compared. But I don't know. I think perhaps he's closing the book a little bit too early, considering we've not really seen what Albon's been able to do.
What I found interesting about this is that when Albon took that seat, they were all talking, weren't they, about, he's got 9 races to prove himself. But they're now saying they're going to make their decision after Mexico. Well, I'll be honest, I failed maths miserably at school, but I'm pretty sure that Belgium, Italy, Singapore, Russia, Japan and Mexico is 6 races and not 9. Like I say, not great with the maths, but that's just using my fingers and thumbs there. So I'm going to be honest, as usual, because I just always am. I think all this, it's between Gasly, Albon talk, is just to try and motivate them. I think the decision's taken. I think the fact they're going to make that call after Mexico says to me that Albon will be in that car next year and Gasly will stay at Toro Rosso, and all of this talk of this battle between them is just for motivation. Because imagine if you're Pierre Gasly and Helmut Marko says, you're in Toro Rosso next year, mate, you're not getting back in that Red Bull. It's not really going to motivate him too much. Whereas if you say to him, come on, let's see what you can do, absolutely nail it, you could be back in that Red Bull, it's going to give him a bit of confidence. It's going to motivate him to improve as the season goes on. I think the decision's made, and I think it's just all talk. Just my opinion on that one. That's total speculation, obviously.
I think I agree with you there, actually, because I'm a little bit like Kvyat. Do Red Bull really want to bite the bullet twice? Not really. But then they don't want to give Albon too much of a cushion and say, look, we're just going to keep you in. You'll be fine because he needs to perform. So I think you got it bang on there, mate.
Oh, thanks, mate.
Keep in the good books now.
I mean, there's one name that we're going to have to throw in there because, why not? Hulkenberg could go to Red Bull. I didn't believe that rumor. I think it was the podcast that Arav was on with me and Chainbear. Listen to me name dropping. Yeah. Arav was on with me and Chainbear on the podcast, and we all absolutely poo-pooed that idea. Quite frankly, we found it quite funny that Hulkenberg was even linked to a Red Bull seat. Red Bull have pretty much dismissed that, but as I said in my tweet yesterday, Dan, Helmut Marko was also pretty clear that Gasly wasn't getting drops, and then 2 days later he dropped him to Toro Rosso. So do you think Hulkenberg's got an outside shot? I'm just going to say straight away no. I don't think he has, but do you think maybe he could?
Now, I think this is where my opinion differs from yours because I'm a little bit more, yeah, I'm a little bit more optimistic than you are, I think. I think it more comes down to how Albon performs because, like we just said, I don't think realistically they want to take back Kvyat no matter how well he performs in 2019. And I think also, I don't think they want to take Gasly back because of what happened early in 2019. So I think there's a chance he's definitely their best option outside the Red Bull program. But again, I think they would rather take Gasly back than Hulkenberg. But I still think there's a slight chance.
Yeah, I think it's Albon's. I can't see. I would probably argue that in terms of aggression, overtaking, his drive through the field in Belgium, Albon could possibly have already done more than Gasly did in the 12 races he had. That's probably a bit harsh on Pierre, and I love Pierre Gasly. I did nothing but defend him to a point. Obviously, eventually I had to break that, but I'm with you. I can't see Marko putting Gasly back in that car. I think, like I say, it's just to motivate, and Albon's got this one nailed on. But Hulkenberg is probably the only option, really, away from the Red Bull program. I mean, Kubica, I can't see them going for him. That would be, I don't know what I'd do. Pass out, probably, to be honest. Nothing against Kubica, but I just don't think he's ever an option. They don't need the money, so that it's not going to be a sponsorship thing. Nick de Vries, as people are always banging on about, he's gone to Formula E now, so that's not an option for them. I don't think any of the young drivers either have super license points. It's going to be, I just can't see. I can't see it going anywhere other than Albon. That's just my view on that one. But we'll stick on Hulkenberg sort of for a moment. Dan, what the hell? Why have Haas kept Grosjean? So I know you're happy, and I know you're a fan. I'm not going to give you too much of a hard time about it. Too much of a hard time. But it can't be performance-based because he's not performed.
Now, I don't think he's been as bad as most people have been saying in 2019. I've got to be really careful what I say because I'll make it aware for people who aren't aware of who I am. I'm a big Grosjean fanboy, so don't believe anything that just comes out of my mouth in the next few minutes. But I think the points gap is slightly alarming. But the two big chances where the car actually was working well this year, Australia and Spain, Grosjean in Australia, his tyres fell off. Spain, he was P7 most of that weekend before the safety car and couldn't get his tyres warmed up. So I look at it and think very easily his season could look a lot different on paper. But I think you're right that there still has been mistakes this year. And whilst I think he's been okay, I don't think he's been dreadful in 2019. I've said to you a few times on streams, I still think he's on borrowed time a little bit and was lucky to stay in 2019. And to me, he's not done enough to warrant another season. And that's coming from one of the biggest Grosjean fans out there. And I've also said, although Haas haven't had a good car this year, and Will Buxton in the paddock pass, I thought made a really good point that Grosjean has been quite instrumental and said, look, the upgrades haven't been working. We need to go back to the old car. And I'm sure behind closed doors, he's made a big impact on trying to help that car move forward. It's not moving forward. I've got to say that. It's still not looking great. But I still feel a change is needed within that team. I was a big advocate that both drivers, just a complete refresh is what they needed. But they've gone with consistency, and that might work out for them. But I think that there did need to be at least one change because in 2020, is it really going to change? I'm not sure.
See, I think I said this to you on Twitter the other day. I agree. He hasn't been as bad as has been made out this year, but he's not been good either. And I know he's had the bad
Yeah.
luck, but I've always said when that car has been underneath him, he's still not really demonstrated the racecraft. And this is, I'm going to say it, he once had. You kind of had a little on Twitter the other day about it, because obviously once upon a time, Grosjean was a regular-ish podium finisher and was giving Kimi Raikkonen a run for his money at times at Lotus. So the talent was there once upon a time. I don't believe that disappears. It's just not going his way, and he's not been... I just don't think he's been good enough this year. But I found that the comments curious from Gunther Steiner and Haas when they were saying, we're keeping Grosjean, and you've sort of mentioned it there, because he helps us develop this car. He's really helped us develop this car this season. It's worse than it was in Australia. So whatever he's doing to help develop the car, he's not really doing a very good job. But I was listening to Sky yesterday. Martin Brundle was saying, I think it was Martin Brundle, that there's something to do with possibly... It may not have been Martin Brundle thinking about it now, but anyway, it was somebody on Sky, doesn't matter who was saying about how there's a possible new French sponsor coming in, so getting a French driver in makes sense. Hulkenberg was taking the mickey with his wages and they weren't willing to pay that. And so from a business point of view, keeping Grosjean kind of makes sense. But like I said earlier, from a performance point of view, I can't see why they've kept him. But then we're just fans, Dan, at the end of the day, and everyone in chat's the same. We don't have all the data. We don't have all the information. They might have information that shows them that Grosjean is consistently, when the car's performing well, quicker than Magnussen. So, we have to kind of, in a way, take them at face value, I guess. But I was so surprised. I like Grosjean as a guy. He seems like a really decent person. As somebody said in chat a moment ago, he's the only one with a cookbook as well. And that's hugely important.
Key.
But I just, as a driver, I think I'm disappointed. I think I'd like to have seen a change. But I feel like now that's it for Hulkenberg. I think he's done in F1. He's not going to go to Williams. Why would he go to Williams? They can't afford his wages. If Haas can't afford his wages, Williams probably can't afford his wages. He's not going to bring any sponsorship. Does he really want to go from a team... like last year, he was challenging for 4th in the constructors, 7th in the drivers. They're improving Renault. Does he want to leave that to go and drive around potentially at the back of the grid for 19th and 20th next year in what is his, 9-10 years in Formula 1 or something like that? I can't see it. I mean, the only thing I could maybe understand is if he wants the whole dream, fairy tale, I'm going back to where it all began thing. But Hulkenberg does not strike me as that kind of driver. So I think he's done. A lot of people saying Williams could happen. I don't believe it. I think Giovinazzi will stay at Alpha, and I don't think he's going to be in at the Red Bull. So game over for Hulkenberg. Discuss, I guess, Dan.
Yeah, I think... Sorry, I can hear the telephone going on in the background.
All right.
Sorry if that's picking up down my mic. I think with Nico, he's a good enough driver to be in Formula One. And I think if he'd have got that podium in Germany and hadn't thrown it all away, then I think Haas probably would have taken him. I think Alfa Romeo perhaps would have taken the chance, but it still eludes his career. It's a big black spot. But even then, like you say, even if he's offered a drive at Williams, does he really want to take that? Like you say, it could be a nice little fairy tale, nice round trip of the Formula One grid. But for himself, does he want to be at the back of the grid fighting a George Russell who wants to prove himself and is hungry? And if Russell beats him, well, that only makes Hulkenberg's credentials look worse, in my opinion, anyway. So maybe he takes a year out, tries to stay racing in another category and snake his way back into 21. I don't know. I still find it bizarre that Renault have dropped him. I can't deny, as much as I think Ocon's a solid driver and I think will do well in Formula One, I'm still surprised they went that route. So, yeah, I'm just trying to think off the top of my head. I really can't see anywhere where there's room for him.
Commander, I think it was Ben Kai and Stephen were just talking there about maybe Formula E for Hulkenberg. I'm going to put you right on the spot here, mate. What seats are available? I've not been keeping up on it. I really should have been, but I haven't.
That's all right. The answer is not many, or at least not many good ones. There's a seat at Jaguar. Jaguar haven't confirmed either driver, but Evans, I guess, is going to stay. So there's a seat there. There's a seat unconfirmed at BMW. That's
Ooh,
arguably the most
German.
competitive seat. Yeah, but it looks like Alex Sims is going to keep that one,
Mm.
but that's probably his best chance. A couple of seats at Neo, I think, are still open, and I
You may as well go to
think,
Williams then if it's Neo.
well, exactly, and I think that's it. To be honest with you, so there's not many options in Formula E at all. He's left it a little bit late for that one.
It's only a few weeks ago he was saying he wasn't interested in Formula E.
Well, exactly.
All of a sudden it's, oh, hang on a minute. Actually, I didn't mean it like that. Maybe DTM, I think, has been mentioned as another possible destination. I don't know enough about DTM to say where that's going to happen. So I think it is. I think that's it for Hulkenberg. For now, in Formula One, it doesn't mean he won't be back in the future. I disagree with you on the decision by Renault. Ocon fanboy this week, hater next week that I am. I think it was the right call from Renault because it's an opportunity for them to build for the future. I think Ricciardo, he is a better driver in my opinion than Hulkenberg, so I was always going to give him a proper run for his money. But the way Ricciardo's beaten, I thought Hulkenberg would be closer than he has been at times this season. So I think Renault have made the right call. People will disagree with that, and that's absolutely fine. Obviously, everyone's entitled to their opinion, but it is a shame. And I said it in my video, and I was quite cross that no, Hulkenberg isn't this superstar amazing driver that everybody makes him out to be, or some people make him out to be, but he's not terrible like others make him out to be, a little bit like Ocon in that respect, actually. But he's better than some of the drivers we have on the grid confirmed for next year, and it annoys me. I know money talks and blah, 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 but it annoys me that we've got some properly drivers on the grid, and then a good midfield driver is going to be out of a seat. But then, has he had his chance? He's not old, is he? But he's been in Formula 1 for quite a while now. Is that his chance gone? But then you can't really say yes, Dan, because you're a Grosjean fan.
Yeah, I mean, even I have got to say I'm very surprised at Haas. That seemed like such a good fit. Grosjean, I think, has proved now he's getting to the end of his career. He's not quite got that consistency a team like Haas need. And I think Hulkenberg, whilst, again, he hasn't got that podium, and chances have been there for him to potentially get a race win back in 2012 and certainly to be on the podium throughout his career. I still think he has that consistency. Like you say, he's a proven midfield driver. And I think in Formula One, and I think we're all to blame for this, I think very quickly we all move on. You know, last year, everyone was heaping his praises that he was one of the best drivers in 2018, comfortably the best of the rest. And already people were saying, yeah, maybe, yeah, we don't need him in Formula One. So I agree with you. I think he's definitely strong enough to be on that grid. But sometimes the politics game plays its part and it doesn't quite work out.
Well, that you're saying there, people's views on Hulkenberg, that's just parts of the F1 online community, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not really all that long ago that Leclerc was an angel, could do no wrong, was lovely. What a lovely grounded lad he was. Fantastic talent, absolutely brilliant. And then he farted near Max Verstappen and exhaled near Lewis Hamilton, and suddenly he's the spawn of Satan. It's like, make your mind up. But yeah, I think Hulkenberg, I've been fairly consistent with what I've said about Hulkenberg in that I think he should be on the grid over some of the drivers that are there, but 20 seats, some teams need the money more than they do the talent. Not looking at anybody in particular. Pink. Anyway, but the other news, actually, on the subject of money, Robert Kubica has decided he's done with Williams. Can't say I honestly blame him. But he said he's done with Williams. He's leaving them at the end of the year. He's looking to stay in Formula One in some capacity. Some rumours going around that he could be looking at a development role, maybe at Haas. They could do with a sponsor, of course, maybe even at Racing Point. Surprised that he's decided to go down. I think that's my biggest surprise, is that he's made the call and not Williams. No offence to him, of course.
Yeah. I was surprised initially. It's the classic saying that I obviously, I'm always rubbish with sayings, but is it he jumped before he was pushed?
Yeah.
I think that's the saying. Yeah. Part of me thought that initially, but when I looked into it a little bit deeper, I thought to myself, well, himself, he can see that in qualifying. I think the average gap is 5/10. He's behind Russell most weekends, and whatever rumours you want to believe, in himself, that's not nice. Showing up to a race weekend, doing 3 practice sessions of quali, and then finishing at the back of the pack. I mean, even for Russell as well, but Russell, I'm assuming, has lots of career aspirations. For Kubica, I feel his end game was to make this journey back. An incredible story he's been in Formula One. And perhaps that point in Germany, whilst it was a single point, and of course he's got Grand Prix victories, that probably to him is a very proud moment in Formula One. And he probably looks at Williams in 2020 and probably, they're not going to be much higher up on the grid. You'd imagine probably they're aiming for 21. And he probably thinks to himself, you know what? I've had my time. And then I can completely respect that. So, like I say, whilst at first I was surprised, I think for him, that's a sensible move.
I think you're right on the Russell thing. I can't see that is going to motivate either driver, but at least Russell knows that he's at the start of his Formula One career. Kubica isn't going to want to stick around for another 2 years doing this on the off chance that 2021 might be better. It's a shame. It is a shame. People won't like it, but it is a shame because it was an incredible story. And I think he is going to inspire so many drivers. You look at Billy Munger, for example, who's an inspiration himself. He's now seen that drivers who perhaps are carrying a disability can make it to Formula One, and that's going to give him that inspiration. That's huge. His journey is going to have a massive knock-on effect for possibly years to come, the next generation of drivers. But when it comes to performance, and that's what Formula One is about, he's not performed. I was surprised it was him that made the call. Like you, maybe it was that he was jumped before he was pushed. I don't know. But at the same time, I completely understand in some respects why he's made that decision, because it's a motivational thing. Oh, hi Robert, congratulations mate, 20 cars have finished, you are 19th or 20th, which do you want? Neither. And he is still quick, because I'm taking this off of conversations I've had with other people, because I didn't really follow him after he came back after his accident, but people were saying he was still quick in other series that he took part in. So if Formula One hasn't worked, if he doesn't go for a development role, maybe he will go back to one of those other series and make a pretty decent rest of his career, have a pretty decent time and pick up some good results. So again, he'll not be listening to this, but I wish him all the best. Lovely guy, fantastic story. He was incredible during that first stage, if you like, of his Formula One career. It's just a shame it hasn't worked. So I'm not going to slate Kubica. We have to remember as well, he's got a dog poo car, nearly. He's got a dog poo car. So I don't know. Are you sad to see him go? Just aside from, it's the story, isn't it?
Yeah. And as well, when I was growing up with Formula One, he was my favourite. When he was my first ever favourite driver. I know I'm supposed to be unbiased, but there you go. Before the Grosjean times, I was a massive Kubica fan. So, yeah, really happy to see that he made it to Formula One. Even last year in that development role, that was special. But the fact that he's been able to do a full season, many people said, would he even be strong enough to do a full season? Would he be good enough to do a full season? And he obviously is. Williams are keeping him for the full year. And I think that in itself is an incredible journey. So while I'm sad, in a sense, I'm also really happy for him that he had this chance and that he's leaving on his own terms.
I'll admit I was wrong, but I actually said at the start of the season, I think in a live stream or pre-season, that I thought he would have to sit out Singapore. I didn't think physically he'd be able to do it. And I'm so pleased he's doing it. It's one of those, I'm happy that he's proved me wrong.
Yeah.
It's a shame. I'm just sort of half talking, Dan, and sort of scrolling through Twitter just to see what's going on. Daniel Kvyat is taking a new gearbox, but I think it's penalty-free, Toro Rosso said earlier, so that's not a concern. And I believe Perez was on the brink of having to take one after he made a 5-place grid penalty confirmed for Perez for a new gearbox after his crash in FP3. He's had a scruffy weekend as Perez, hasn't he? Putting Magnussen in the wall and then, hitting the wall again in practice.
Yeah, although isn't he ill? I know in FP1 they were saying he wasn't feeling too great and maybe Ocon could jump into that seat. Sorry, that's not going to happen. Sorry, Ocon fans. I shouldn't have thrown that one out there. But I don't think he's supposed to be 100% this weekend. So that's an excuse for him, I guess. But yeah, it's a little bit scruffy. And considering what happened here last year with Perez, not the best track to do it at.
Always just been an excuse for Perez, doesn't there? Sorry. He's not very well. No, it's been a scruffy weekend, but it happens to the best. I mean, was it last year Sebastian Vettel whacked the wall on the exit of that same corner and that he lost all that time in the most relevant practice session? And some people say that contributed to his championship chances falling away, even though they were pretty much done at that point anyway. But it was Ferrari's weekend, wasn't it, very much last year, and they threw that away. But I'm looking forward to this session, Dan. I'm not going to lie. I thought Red Bull versus Mercedes, but Ferrari threw us a nice little curveball this morning. Charles Leclerc quickest by a couple of tenths from Lewis Hamilton and then 6 tenths from his teammate. So maybe these Ferrari updates, brace yourself for a shocker, maybe they've worked.
And as well, there's 3 DRS zones,
Yes.
which they put in this year. And obviously, that's Ferrari's strong point, so that's going to help them even more. So, I mean, I don't want to hype this up too much and let down the Ferrari fans again in 2019. Sorry, Ferrari fans. But yeah, it looks like we're going to have a real mixed bag in the fight for pole. And I don't think we've had 6 drivers fight for pole position for a very long time.
You just made a very good point on the DRS there, Dan. I've not even considered that. Just the music started on Sky, and I'm just looking at that backdrop. It is stunning. It is absolutely stunning. So, I will, of course, ask you just before Q3 as well, but before we've even seen a wheel get turned in qualifying, in chat, one surname, who do you think will take pole position? Dan, who are you going for? It's a tough one to call, this one, actually.
It really is. You know what? After last season, after that stunning lap, I've got to go with Lewis Hamilton.
Oh, if I say Hamilton, that's boring. I said Hamilton on Thursday. I'm going to go Verstappen. Just because it keeps it interesting between us more than anything.
Yeah, fair enough.
But yeah, I think I've got a feeling this is going to be closer than I was expecting. I thought it'd be close between Hamilton and Verstappen, but I think if you can throw Ferrari in there, we could end up with 3 different teams on the first 3 places of the grid. That'd be very tasty for tomorrow. Could make strategy interesting. But I'll read some quick predictions before we go over to the watch on screen. Red Bull Sauber Petronas, cool name. He says Albon, or they say Albon. Sorry. I think he's got a shot of a podium this weekend. Leclerc for the nameless. Stephen LeBlanc says Hamilton. FIFA and Fortnite. Oh, FIFA. Yeah, early access. Anyway, Verstappen. F1 stream, Sean, stop it. Game Player says Hamilton. Flying Tiger says no idea. There you go. Karine says Leclerc. Guardian the Blind is off to watch the official broadcast. No worries, mate. Have a nice afternoon. Apex Chris has said, I think he said Vettel, was it? I've probably lost it now. It's just gone Stroll. Someone's been drinking again, Dan. A few saying Kubica. Grosjean, there you go, Dan, the Red Whirlpool. He's on your side with that one.
Lovely.
Justin Goodban says Albon. See if it's any different. FIA Stewart says Vettel. A couple saying Vettel, actually, to be fair. It's a track he likes. It is a track he likes, so maybe he could spring a surprise. I'll be honest, I'm not expecting it, but you never know, do you? I mean, that'd be a bit of a surprise. But I'm going to now take just a second, have a mouthful of drink and let Dan do the same, or answer the phone, whichever he needs to do. And we can head over to the qualifying watch-along screen. I have no idea why the qualifying watch-along intro will not work properly, but there we go. You got half of it. Wonderful. That took me like a minute to make, so enjoy it. Live timing, as always, for these watch-alongs provided by Planet F1. Obviously, again, no on-track footage for obvious copyright reasons, and I'll go through the usual spiel as well. Don't forget to follow me over on social media. If you are new to the channel, please do consider subscribing. You are more than welcome to join us. We'll be live for the race tomorrow as well. Don't forget to drop the stream a like. I'll keep an eye on that. But yes, make sure you drop a like. I have to be honest, that sounded more threatening than I wanted it to come across. I'm not going to lie. So apologies for that one. But please do drop a like. And if you want to support the stream, you can do so through Super Chat. But if you prefer not to give Google 30 ruddy% of your contribution, then please do consider donating or contributing over on PayPal, and all the information you need for that is in the description. If you do choose to donate over on PayPal, though, please feel free to leave a message and I'll try and read it out on stream. If not, I'll give you a shout out over on Twitter, or I'll try and do it before the start of the watch along tomorrow. It's a lot of information as a YouTuber you got to throw at people, isn't it, Dan? It's yeah.
It's scary because if you get one bit wrong, it's all over.
Yeah. Please do subscribe to PayPal.
Well.
I'm just keeping an eye now. So we should have a live timer in just a moment. I'm hoping that we've got the session headers in place. Yes, we have. I'll start the timer at about 17:30. 18 minutes for the first session. 15 for the second and 12 for the final session. Dan, I really hope we don't get the chaos that we saw in Monza. That was, I think, somebody timestamped it. I think that was one of the finest reactions we've ever done on a stream, Dan, to what was going on. We had no idea.
No, I've not listened back to it yet. I'm a little bit scared. I mean, I can imagine some screaming and wailing going on because, yeah, that was. I'm still speechless. I remember saying at the time, I have no idea what's going on, but that was bizarre, and I would be very surprised if anything like that happened again. But it's a street circuit, and in the words of Jolyon Palmer, you've always got to be alert on a street circuit. So one incident here, we could see some lengthy red flags.
Just in front of you right now, Dan, have you got like two sides to your wall? One that's got as many cheesy cliches as you can possibly fit in, and another one that's like, how many memes can I use in one shot's live streams?
I don't, but I might do that because that's a very good idea.
Thank you very much to, is it Shua Nicholas, for your contribution over on PayPal. Massively appreciated. Thank you for that one. Yeah, links in the description for all of that jazz. But I'm ready for this. I'm pumped. Qubits is the first man out. I've got all the live timing on to my left. It doesn't matter if it's to my left, does it? It doesn't matter where it is, it's there. Russell looked good actually this morning. That was what I was going to meant to say in the build-up, Dan. Russell looked really good this morning. Was he about 15th on pace and looked good yesterday as well? So the Williams working well at the moment.
Yeah, and the Haas looking rubbish. Those two all weekend. I mean, I'm not too surprised. I mean, their biggest complaint this season has been temperature. And Singapore, I mean, you mentioned it earlier, one of the most humid, hot circuits there are. So I think Haas came into this weekend expecting to be at the bottom. But Williams, like you say, I mean, Hungary, it was the track they performed particularly well at. And you could argue this is a similar kind of layout, needs a lot of downforce in Singapore, just like in Hungary. So Williams could be right there with Haas. And that's a big blow considering where they both were in Australia.
You know, when we laughed at Jonty when he said that he thought that that Williams were close to Haas or beating Haas on race pace.
I mean, he makes so many crazy predictions. He's going to get one right eventually, you know.
I was going to say, he makes so many crazy predictions, he's bound to get one wrong eventually, because he seems to be pretty spot on, doesn't he? With most of these. Everyone heading out on track now. Albon, Verstappen, Hulkenberg, Ricciardo, Gasly and Kvyat yet to go out. So, yeah, I mean, I'm hoping, I mean, could one of them sneak through to Q2, Kubica or Russell? Nearly did in Hungary, didn't he? So, maybe. It's a big ask, isn't it? It really is.
Yeah, I think they're still the slowest car on paper. But as you say, it just takes one lap, or one stonking lap like we saw from Lewis Hamilton last year, but from either.
Are you still there, Dan?
Yes, I can you hear me now? Is that any good?
I can, yes.
Okay.
Disappeared for a second.
Yes, sorry. In the woods, I'm afraid. Live in the middle of nowhere, so internet's a bit dodgy, I'm afraid, sometimes.
I lived in the woods once, just if you're interested. Like in a cabin, I'd not like in a tent or anything like that.
No.
I'm not like a squirrel. What? Oh, shut up, Sean. Right, Science on Team Radio there. Just, oh dear. Did just miss that. I think just talking about gaps and whatnot, but we're still waiting for Kubica. He's come back into the pits, Robert Kubica, but Hulkenberg and Ricciardo and Gasly still yet to go out. You're welcome, Liam. You are more than welcome, mate. I was having a look at see what's happening. Just waiting for people to get around these first laps. I hate the very, very start of each session because there's not really much happening apart from we're waiting for times to get set. But fastest this morning was Leclerc, so maybe. Site saying no power, according to Jordan. Thank you very much for that, mate. He's slow there, but I assume he's just making a little bit of space for himself. I do like it when you go into that grandstand through those, is it 18 and 19, those two corners? I love it through there. We tend to see a bit of crashing under there as well, maybe in the race. Maybe.
controversial. That's where Crashgate was, wasn't it?
No, not quite. That was a bit earlier
Oh,
in
was
the
it
lav.
not? Oh,
Yeah.
fair enough.
Let's not talk about crashes in Singapore. Did you see the 5 most controversial Singapore moments on the F1 YouTube channel, and they've conveniently glossed over 2008?
Yes, that is quite amusing.
They put Gasly's 5th place, or not Gasly's, Sainz's 5th place in the Toro Rosso in instead, and I was like, ooh, controversial and dramatic indeed.
Well, and they didn't include Perez and Sorokin from last year.
No.
I thought that was better.
That was an odd move.
Just Perez. Yeah, Perez that whole weekend. I mean, he squidged Ocon into the wall as well, didn't he?
And that's because Ocon's a terrible driver, mate, remember?
Yeah, to be fair.
I got so defensive of him that weekend. I'll never forget that as Kimi Raikkonen goes quickest for now, because everyone's like, oh well. Actually, I think you'll find it's that Ocon was in a dangerous position on the outside. It's like, really, because the 5 cars behind all got through in the same position whilst trying to avoid a crashing Force India. It was Perez stuck him in the wall. I'll always defend him on that one. Really scruffy weekend. Maybe it's just a circuit. Perez has a bit of a scruffy timeout, which when you consider how good he is around Baku, which is a street circuit that's got some interesting bits to it, I'm quite surprised. Really, I don't know. I can't think of what he did prior to 2018 in Singapore. He might have won the race.
No, I was just trying to think the same. I can't remember anything. Maybe we're missing something very obvious. That's usually the case, but no, especially the last couple of years, it seems to be a bit of a bogey circuit for him.
Somebody in chat will be like, oh, I think you're forgetting about the 6 consecutive podiums he had at Singapore. I'm like, oh yeah, he did, didn't he? Let's have a look. I'll go over to the source of all knowledge, and that is Wikipedia. Let's see what his results are like in Singapore. I'm just going to shut up. 5th in 2017, 8th in 2016, 7th in 2014, 8th in 2013, 10th in 2012. Perez goes well at Singapore, apparently. Dan, we were completely wrong.
Yeah, I mean, it's like Baku, isn't it? It always goes very well on street circuits, so I'm not surprised.
Zach Mullen saying, Czech came 5th in 2017. Yes, he did. Leclerc currently fastest on a 38 flat, half a second quicker than Max Verstappen, Bottas and Hamilton, curiously enough, on the medium tyres for their first runs. Ooh. Was that a Racing Point Lance Stroll rubbing the wall? Oh, it was good. Yeah, he did. Did he hit it again? Hang on. He has twice, including where Perez whacked it this morning. Oh dear. Come on, Lance.
Carlos Sainz, P5. I mean, no power. I don't think I'm going to believe that one again.
If that's no power and they can fix that, Sainz for pole. That's phenomenal. Vettel P6 at the minute. Albon, he was quicker than Max Verstappen this morning. Obviously, practice doesn't really matter, but it'll be interesting to see if he can carry that through. Who else have we got? In the drop zone, Russell, Gasly, Hulkenberg, Ricciardo, Kubica. Perez has gone out and set a time, so he's not worried about that 5-place grid drop. What do you reckon to that, the talk that they're discussing? I think teams are against it, but they're discussing possibly adding ballast instead of having grid penalties.
I'm not a fan of that.
No.
I don't actually have that much of an issue with grid penalties, which probably is one of the more controversial things that have ever come out of my mouth. But I think you need some kind of penalty. I think ballast is far too extreme. I think I've seen time penalties flying around. I think that's not really going to do much difference. So, yeah, I don't really have that much of an issue, to be honest, with how it is now.
The trouble is, if you add ballast to the cars for gearbox changes and power unit changes, you're punishing them for the entire Grand Prix.
Yeah.
And that's really harsh. And then we're not going to get, let's say Verstappen has to take a whole new everything and he takes a 65 place grid drop or whatever it works out at, ends up at the back of the grid and he's loaded with ballast, we're not going to see those great comeback drives, are we? And that's going to detract from it. So leave it as it is, maybe provide more power units so that penalties are a little bit less frequent, perhaps, but a ballast is just stupid to me. It really is. I'm sorry.
No, I don't blame you.
Leclerc, obviously still quickest, as I say, you can see on the timing and everything, it's all working okay. Yep. It tends to go down towards the end of Q2 for whatever reason, so I'll keep an eye on that one. Bottas and Hamilton on those medium tyres, 3rd and 4th. Hamilton's 7/10 off. I didn't check the deltas, actually. They usually do it on Sky beforehand between the tyres, but I don't think it's quite that much. I might be wrong, of course. Sainz 5th, as Dan was saying. 7th for Gasly. So that's a good lap for him. Just a second off Charles Leclerc's pace, which isn't bad. Grosjean 15th. He's on the bubble at the moment. Magnussen 2.8 off in 16th. So Haas struggling at the moment. They're all on the soft tyres. So, Hulkenberg and Ricciardo just coming out set times now. Going to wait and see what they can do. They were quick in Monza, weren't they? Good in Spa as well. And Renault have actually been all right so far this weekend, so they might be able to take the fight to McLaren, and that's going to be I'm going to love that scrap. If nothing else happens between now and the end of the season, Renault v McLaren for 4th is going to be epic.
Yeah, and this weekend as well, you just mentioned it, Gasly seems to be right on the pace for them. I didn't check the results this morning, but especially in P1 and P2, it was the 2 McLarens, the 2 Renaults and Gasly. So, yeah, even if the fight at the front is dull, and I don't think it is for the rest of the year, that midfield fight is going to be very juicy.
Hulkenberg coming across the line, moves up into P10. And then that's followed by his teammate who goes P10 and knocks him down to 11th. So quite a bit off the pace though, Renault, as Vettel goes 2nd, 3/10 off his teammate on the soft tyres as well. I think not Hulkenberg, Cyril Abiteboul, I think it was saying that they're still looking over their shoulder at the likes of Toro Rosso. So they're not just looking at McLaren. They've got Toro Rosso as well to keep an eye on. So I think it's going to close up quite nicely at the end of the season. And I'm looking forward to that scrap. But I think actually, and it's a big if, this pace is genuine from Ferrari and they can challenge this weekend, we could be in for a pretty epic end to the season anyway, because that's going to be 3 teams capable of fighting for poles and wins. And that bodes well for next year as well, actually, doesn't it? Because there's not going to be massive changes to the cars. Just watching Vettel at the minute on the onboard. I love those clear visors as well. See the whites of the driver's eyes. Sainz dropping to 6th after Vettel's lap time. Still on the bubble, Lance Stroll, or he's on the bubble now. Kimi Raikkonen 16th. Grosjean in 17th. Magnussen 18th. Not looking good for Haas at the moment. George Russell 7/10 off of the 15th place Stroll. Trying to work. I think we've lost Dan, so I'm just trying to work some stuff out. He'll give me a shout when he comes back. I'm a fan of both Brits on the grid, says Norman D. Robinson, Lewis and Lando. Not George. Oh, poor, yeah. Niall straight in there. Poor George. Or Neil, sorry. I got that wrong every time, don't I? Does anyone have a grid penalty, says Quintin? Just Perez, as far as I know. 5th place grid drop for a new gearbox, so I've not seen any others. We have lost Dan. I think he lives in the woods, so I think his internet's just gone down, but I'm sure he'll pop back as soon as he can. Into the pits comes Sebastian Vettel. Lovely helmet this weekend, by the way. As ever, he always seems to have a decent one for Singapore, so very happy with seeing that. You got it right the second time, Sean. I thought I did, mate. I thought I did. I think you've told me before how to pronounce that one. So Raikkonen now in the drop zone. 2.2 seconds off Leclerc and a 10th off Stroll in 15th. But Racing Point just above the bubble at the moment. Kubica 20th, 3.1 off the pace for now. David Hughes thinks Bottas for pole. I think Crofty's stat says that he will do. So, yeah. I just want to read some of your comments. So, if you're having a conversation. Matt Bellamy is my man, says Liam. I'm going to be... Oh, God. Who's Matt Bellamy? I'm going to get butchered now. You're going to absolutely destroy me for that one. Leclerc for pole, says Xavier. Sainz on the second row. Yes, absolutely, Jake. Muse singer, says Liam. All right, fair enough. I quite like Muse, but I don't know who they're called. Just Muse. What we got going on out there then? 3 minutes and 30 still to go. Valtteri Bottas now going out on the soft tyre. I think he needs to, really. There is only 1.2 between him and Perez in 14th. I think they should be okay, Mercedes. I don't think they need to worry too much, but better safe than sorry. But it is a bit quiet at the moment. It is just the Mercedes boys out there for now and Kevin Magnussen, I believe, on an outlap. So it's quiet at the moment. Just listening to Crofty there talk about Kimi Räikkönen. Asking about Kimi Räikkönen's time, can he knock out a Mercedes? Let's have a look. 2.2, no, I don't think so. I'd be surprised. But the trouble is track evolution, isn't it, in Singapore? It's just an ever-improving track because it's only used once a year. So it's already a million miles away from where it was in FP1. And by the time we get to the end of Q3, it'll be even better than it was in Q1. So it's going to be... We'll keep an eye on it. We'll keep an eye on this track evolution. But it could be one of those last across the line in Q3 is who takes pole position. And they tend to be the best sessions. We're coming up to the 2-minute mark. Slowly coming up to the 2-minute mark. As Bottas is purple in the first, what can he do in the middle sector? 104.5 from Leclerc is the benchmark for that one. Comes through over the line. 3/10 up, 4/10 up in the middle sector. So this is a good lap from Bottas. Mercedes cranking things up now. And now everybody heading out on track. So Ferrari is staying in the pits. Verstappen staying in the pits. Albon in the pits. They won't get a lap in now, too late. So everybody but those four. So both Ferraris and both Red Bulls are in the pits. That's because, I tell you what, Albon's brave. Albon is, in air quotes, only just over a second off of 15th Stroll. And the track is ever improving. So that might be a bit of a gamble from Red Bull. Unless there's a problem with Albon's car, I don't know. I'll check Twitter after this session, but that is a... As Bottas goes fastest, 37.3, Hamilton 2/10 further back. I'm surprised. I'm not surprised that Verstappen's in the pits. I'm not surprised that Ferraris are, but I'm very surprised that Albon's taken that gamble. JB says Red Bull usually get the cut-off times right. Generally they do, to be fair. I'm just thinking Australia with Gasly. I mean, that's going back quite a way. That's a long way now, but yeah. I can't believe we're at Singapore already. I really can't. This season has flown by. Especially this last 6 or 7 races have been brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Magnussen is improving on the time that he needs to get through to Q2. Will Stroll get through again? He's got a shot. Everybody improving pretty much at the moment in their first sectors. Norris, Hülkenberg, Giovinazzi, Raikkonen, they're all behind Albon. This will be close, I feel. Magnussen now down. I think Magnussen's going out here. Checkered flag is out. I think
and the good thing is he'll be behind Grosjean, so that's
scared
brilliant.
the shit out of me then.
Sorry, everyone. I've come in at a bad time as the session's about to end. But yes, if I vanish again, apologies. Shouldn't do, though. I think I've fixed the issue.
Apologies for the language. You actually did that. Made me jump.
Sorry, man.
That's all right. I think we are going to lose Magnussen here. Going across the line. No, he doesn't. He goes 12th. Good final sector from K-Mag. Not necessarily safe. Hülkenberg goes 7th. Albon drops to 9th. I think Norris is going to improve as well. They're taking a risk here. Over the line goes Norris. Does move above Albon into 6th place. Kimi Räikkönen's on a very good lap, as is Giovinazzi. I think Albon's going to be... I'm not going to say it. Räikkönen only goes 12th. That should be okay for Albon then. Giovinazzi goes 11th. Albon stays in 10th place. I think he's okay now. Famous last words. This is where he ends up 20th. Gasly stays 9th. He is doing well. Grosjean's out of Q1. Sorry, Dan.
That's all right.
Stroll is out of Q1. He couldn't quite do it. 39.9. Only just off 15th Kvyat. Daniel Ricciardo stays 12th. What can Kvyat do? He doesn't improve. It's all down to Perez then. It is between Kvyat and Perez for who's going through to Q2. And Checo's improving. Over the line he goes and does knock Kvyat out. So that is Daniel Kvyat, Lance Stroll, Romain Grosjean celebrating his new contract with 18th, and George Russell 19th, and Kubica 20th. So no, Russell and Kubica could not challenge for Q2 in the end, but less than a second. Or just over a second off Magnussen in 15th. Not awful from Russell, and 0.6 off Grosjean in 18th. So not too bad. I'll tell you what as well, to be fair to Kubica, within he's sort of 0.3 off Russell, so that's not bad for him. But just to confirm, we have lost Daniel Kvyat, Lance Stroll, Romain Grosjean, George Russell, and Robert Bobbert Kubica. Any surprises in there, Dan?
I think K-Mag getting through. That's a really good lap from him. He's only just nipped through, but has have been 18th, 17th all weekend long. So that's a really good lap from him. And put it this way, I don't usually give K-Mag much praise. So yeah, I'm impressed with that.
I think Kvyat's a surprise. I know he lost some time this morning, what with his gearbox issue, or his gearbox failure, just on board with Grosjean here for a replay. And I think he's going to, scrapes the wall on the exit of the corner. That would have cost him a bit of time. Ooh. Yeah. Not a huge amount, but it will have cost him some. So that's, it's quite a whack actually. So that's where some of his time went. I forgot what I was saying. Yeah, Kvyat. I think Kvyat is probably a bit of a surprise given that oh my God, who's his teammate? Gasly is P9. So, yeah, I suppose it is just every lap you can do around circuits like Singapore are so crucial, aren't they, to get used to the car and get used to the track evolving. So maybe that's what's happened for Danny Kvyat. Watching a replay of George Russell going very wide on turn 9 with all those sausage curbs. So that's probably why he's so far off. So he might have been better off, but I don't think he'd have got through in the end. Toby Bladesthorpe says some love for Gasly, I think. Comfortable when his teammate drops out. Yeah. What did he do? He was 1.7 off the pace. So what time did he do? He did a 1:39.0. He was 9/10 quicker than Kvyat.
Yeah,
that's a surprise.
He started the weekend off well, and he's carrying it through. I mean, like you say, I'm surprised Kvyat's gone out in Q1, but if Gasly could scrape into Q3, I think that'd be really impressive.
Yeah. I'm surprised by that gap, even with the time that was lost this morning from Kvyat. That surprised me a little bit. I'm just looking at some of the other times as well. Perez 39.9, Stroll 30. Whoa, hang on a minute. What have I missed here? Perez 39.909, Magnussen 39.942, Kvyat 39.957, Stroll 39.979. So Stroll was just a few hundredths away from 14th. That's close. Oh, I love that midfield this season. Raikkonen half a second quicker than Perez in the end. Some good laps in there, but Bottas fastest of everybody in that first session. So maybe Mercedes starting to turn things up a bit, Dan, and break our hearts after we thought it was going to be really close between the three teams.
Yeah, it's not the first time that's happened, is it? Last year, Mercedes were pretty quick here. And to be fair to Bottas and Hamilton, especially Bottas, he's really turned up the wick in qualifying this year compared to previous years. So it's not a massive surprise. And it's only Q1. So, I mean, in Q2, we're going to get different strategies coming into play with tyres and whatnot. But yeah, Mercedes, again, seem to have the edge here.
Q2 just about to get underway. So hopefully we're going to have another... It's going to be really close in that battle for the top 10, I think. I think we can safely assume that we'll see 2 Mercedes, 2 Ferraris and 2 Red Bulls through. But behind that, I mean, McLaren are looking good. 6th and 7th for Norris and Sainz. Do you know what? It would be great. I would love to see Pierre Gasly make it through to Q3. It would just be such a boost for him.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that. I mean, he's going to be, no surprise, but he's going to be directly compared to Kvyat for the rest of the season now, who many of us said should have maybe got the chance at Red Bull instead of Albon, but Albon's done great so far anyway. But Gasly so far has been more than a match for Kvyat. And I know I personally thought, oh, maybe it'll take him, a couple of Grand Prix just to get back into the swing of things. But he's really jumped back into that Toro Rosso and started performing. So if he could sneak through, yeah, mega confidence boost for him, which at the moment is exactly what he needs.
That's what I was saying at the start, wasn't it, about what Helmut Marko's saying? If he can really, even if he is telling porkies, Marco, lie, never. Even if he is telling porkies, then at least he's motivating Gasly to deliver. Because I think there has been an improvement in his form. He's not been amazing. He's not suddenly started becoming the greatest driver in that midfield or anything stupid like that. But he's definitely been an upturn in form. And I wonder if that it is just the pressure's off a little bit. I know he's still linked to that seat, but if he's not got to worry about the spotlight and he's not got to worry about trying to get anywhere near Max Verstappen, maybe just with the pressure off, it suits him. If it may even be, as mad as it sounds, and it's something that we've seen before with drivers, maybe he's just more comfortable in that team and in that situation.
Yeah, well, I mean, I still feel his best ever race in Formula One was the one at the beginning of 2018 in Bahrain. I mean, he was running as high as fourth, and I think we saw that once this season, him mixing it up there with the top boys. So he's definitely got the talent and ability to be up there, because if you can do it in a Toro Rosso, you'd like to think you'd be able to do it in the Red Bull. So maybe for him, just that low pressure environment where there's not that expectation, maybe that's exactly where he needs to be. So yeah, maybe for him, it's just best to have a couple of years at Toro Rosso and maybe a sideways move to a Renault or McLaren if those seats open up. I'm just spitballing there, nothing concrete I'm trying to allude to. But yeah, I think that low pressure environment really suits him.
Owen Bradley says, do you think DRS should be removed? Yes. Right now, no. If we're being completely honest, you want a bit more of a detailed answer. Right now, no, because without it, we see next to no overtaking at all. I think they should keep it as effectively. I think they've actually discussed this as like a backup for 2021. So say that they're not using DRS in 2021, but leave it on the cars so that if those regulations don't work, they can easily activate it at tracks if they need to. But I'd like to get this. It'd be great if the sport could be in a position where the racing is close, we get overtaking, we get action, and then we can get rid of DRS. But until that happens, it's, to quote Ross Brawn, a necessary evil. But I'm not a big fan of gimmicks like that. If they had to have a gimmick, I'd prefer driver deployed KERS like we used to have, so that it's just another strategical thing. But I don't like DRS because it just means as soon as a faster car with a better power unit gets up behind another car, they're going to get past. You saw it at Monza, so no. I hate it. Sorry, Dan.
No, I think I agree with you there. And I'd rather, I mean, I don't want to just repeat what you've just said. I think most of what you said there was pretty bang on, but I'd rather, especially for 21, have it on the cars as a precaution, because it's much easier just to get rid of it just one weekend, say, look, we don't need it anymore, you're not allowed to use it. It's much easier to do that than go the other way, design it without them and say, look, we need DRS now and we're going to have to do that for next year. So I don't think I'm as against it as some people, but I'm like you. I'd rather not have it if that was an option and the racing was close.
It's a tricky one, isn't it? I love that phrase from Ross Brawn. It's a necessary evil at the moment. Liam saying F1 fan boost, get out. No, no, sod off. I hate it in Formula E, so I'm not going to like it in Formula One. Although, again, just I don't want to go all Formula E on you, but it doesn't make that much of a difference in the racing, to be honest. So
no.
Now attack mode. If they'd like to bring attack mode into F1, which is basically DRS without the rear wing. But anyway, no, joking. No gimmicks. Get it right in 2021. The cars look great. I love the look of the car. So if they can get it right, we don't need the gimmicks. He says watching the Sky coverage and the world feed showing bloody CGI all over the track with their stupid F1 play banners. Oh, Jesus. At least we're not seeing an eagle or anything yet. We might see it in Austin again. The shadow of an eagle going across the track. Cheese on toast, all those stupid Star Gateway things.
Yeah, they've calmed down a little bit this year, but then, famous last words, that is. They always love the big clock at Singapore, don't they, on the big wheel? So that one might come out.
Oh, God. It's like New Year's Eve, isn't it? You're like, oh, for God's sake, Happy New Year. Oh, no, it's just the end of Q3. I think Hamilton's just tapped the wall. He's still going, waiting for a replay. He was close. If he didn't hit it, he was close to hitting it. We'll wait for a replay, but he's purple in the middle sector. Bottas fastest at the moment. 37.142. Hamilton is going to beat that, I think. What's Leclerc going to do? He'll be behind Hamilton. He's quick, actually, Leclerc, at the moment. So Leclerc purple in the first, Hamilton purple in the second and the third as he goes fastest, 37 flat. Nothing between them. So Leclerc comes through now over the line. He goes fastest on a 36.9. Hold your horses. Ooh. Hold your prancing horses. What's Vettel going to do? So, do you know Ferrari might be in this?
Careful.
Mercedes aren't going to sandbag Q2, surely. And Vettel only 4th, 37.3. Can I just say, though, laps so far, Lando Norris P5, 6/10 off Charles Leclerc's fastest. Good stuff. Gasly goes 6th. And then gets beaten by Sainz, 38.1. Interesting. Where's Red Bull's pace? Oh, they've not been out yet. Shut up, Sean. Calm down. I've put Albon on the podium and Verstappen to win the race in my preview, Dan. Come on.
Yeah, they need to hurry up. They can't be stressing you out like this.
Not seen a replay yet of that Hamilton one. I'm sure he touched it. He was close to. If he didn't hit it, he would nearly hit it. Raikkonen goes 10th. Giovinazzi goes 8th. Ricciardo 7th. Hulkenberg now 8th. Here goes Max Verstappen, who goes 3rd on a 37.0. Alex Albon goes 7th on a 37.8. That's 8/10 off his teammate. He needs a better time than that, does Alex Albon, so he'll have to go again. All of them, by the way, on the soft tyre. So if the laps stay like that, which they can't for Albon, they will all start on the soft tyre tomorrow. Is this Hamilton? No, that's Kimi Räikkönen hitting the wall. Don't ask me on the exit of what corner that is, because they all look the same from some angles, because they're all 90 right, 90 left, pretty much. Yeah, to give it a bit of a whack. All good, though. Kept going.
That Norris lap is absolutely mental. I mean, like you say, I know it's 6/10 off Leclerc, but it's also 6/10 in front of his teammate. And Sainz is best of the rest anyway, excluding Norris. So that's a really good lap.
3/10 quicker than Albon in the Red Bull.
Yeah. I mean, 3/10 behind Vettel as well. So I don't know where he's got that from. I mean, it's his first ever race, I believe, in Singapore. So that's some solid pace from McLaren.
I saw something. I don't know who it was. And I'm not going to go find it because it's just impossible to find stuff on Twitter. But somebody replied to a McLaren post saying something like, "This is your best shot at a podium this year. Come on, lads." And I went, come on. But, 6th place from Norris, 6/10. They're going to need some drama up front. But if they can get themselves in a position to capitalise on that, they might do. I mean, I'd probably argue that Sainz was on for a podium in Germany. I think, I'm doing the race watch on tomorrow. I don't know how I'd react if we saw Norris or Sainz on that podium, because it has been so long since we've seen a McLaren up there, and they were regulars at the front of the grid when I was growing up. So it would be when most people probably watching now were growing up. McLaren were up there challenging year in, year out for wins and podiums and championships. So it's been so long, too long. I'm going to say Australia 2014, Kevin Magnussen and Jenson Button after the disqualification of Danny Rick.
Yeah, and then before that, 2012. Yeah. So that's it. It still baffles me. Although, like you say, it would shock me if they're up there now. But that's a long time since they've challenged at all. I mean, even Australia 2014 got a little bit lucky with, I think Hamilton had engine issues, so they lucked into that a little bit, and Ricciardo with a penalty. But yeah, that would be mega for them this weekend. And we're still, this is still a way off. It's not like McLaren are going to do it on pure pace. But yeah, you just need something like 2017 at the start, and they're looking good.
Don't forget, if you are new to the channel, to subscribe. if you want to, of course. It'd be massively appreciated, and it's great to have you with us. We'll be doing this for the race as well, or I will be. I don't tend to have guests on the race ones because there's a delay between me and them, and I end up ruining the race for them. So it's better if I do that one on my own. But yeah, we like to get together and do these streams. So do subscribe if you're new. Also, don't forget to drop a like on the video. 1.4k watching and just over 100 and something likes. So let's get some likes on the video. It will be massively appreciated. And of course, don't forget you can support the stream by either super chat, or if you don't want to give Google that 30% fee, then please do consider contributing over on PayPal. All the links you need for everything. I think literally, including to Dan's channel. There's so many links in that description. There's more links than there is description, to be perfectly honest. So do go check out those links and give me a follow on social media and all of that as well. Good afternoon, Anonymous, who's joined as well. I'm going to move that notification so people can actually see their names. That's kind of the point of having it. But anyway, so 4 minutes and 40 to go. Giovinazzi, Gasly, Perez, Raikkonen, Magnussen all out as it stands. K-Mag's going to need a hell of a lap. 1.1 seconds off 10th place at the moment. I can't see it. But again, going back to what Dan said, it must have been one hell of... I'd love to see an onboard of that because it must have been balls to the wall to get that Haas into Q2. Gasly P12. Could like to see him into the top 10 if we can. But at the minute, I think Albon needs to go again. I think Norris is fine. In 6th place, he'll probably go again. But I think Albon needs to go again. Sainz will go again. Ricciardo and Hulkenberg will obviously, and all of those behind will. But I would argue, Dan, obviously they'll go out and scrub some tyres in for Q3. But I would argue Norris, 6th place up, are probably safe.
Yeah, I think I'd agree. I mean, track evolution's obviously one they're going to have to be careful with. And if Norris can be that close to Vettel on his lap, maybe Sainz, Ricciardo and Hulkenberg could find that time. So maybe Vettel with Ferrari were just being cautious a little bit. But yeah, I think you're right. Norris and above, I'd assume is safe.
Rack says, Christian Horner's words, we missed out on Norris. There was a lot of talk, wasn't it, that he could be in a Toro Rosso for this year if McLaren didn't sign him up, and there's talk of that there was a clause in his contract that if McLaren didn't sign him as a race driver, he could go and talk to other teams. So maybe that was, I said at the time, that might be why McLaren rushed him into that seat. But I tell you what, I bet Toro Rosso wish they could go back and offer a bit more money to try and get him, because I'm pretty sure, with all due respect to Gasly, Albon and Fiat, Norris would be sat as Verstappen's teammate right now.
Yeah, that's a hot take. You're probably right, though. Although, I think for Norris himself, I mean, you see how he's just gelled with that whole McLaren team and Sainz. I mean, for a team to be in that kind of situation where they've struggled for the last few years, and now for it to all just turn on its head and things seem so bright all of a sudden, I think Norris is in the right place. I still think if you could offer him right now a Red Bull drive or McLaren, I think he'd still go with McLaren. That might be a bit of a hot take there. But I think, although I think he's good enough to be at Red Bull, don't get me wrong, I think McLaren is the right place for him at the moment.
Just watching, I think Hamilton or one of the Mercedes was trying to get past one of the Ferraris, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think I say that. I'm just looking at the driver tracker that's on screen. He might have done. No, he's not. I think it is. We've got a Mercedes behind a Ferrari and a Ferrari behind a Mercedes at the moment. So maybe just trying to disrupt each other with dirty air. I don't know, because the tow is not going to be... You don't want to be stuck behind a car in Singapore. No way. There is that long run down Raffles Boulevard, though. But then if you're still behind that car at that point, after that, then you're in 90 right, 90 left, and you're not getting through. So, yes, I'm kind of glad the tow don't mean anything this weekend. People are saying, and teams have said, we won't see a repeat of what we saw in Monza this season. I would like to hope we don't, but what I would say is Mexico has a very long start-finish straight. So we might see it again. I hope not. But it was funny. It was funny, but it was ridiculous.
Yeah, it was good, but not again, please.
Durkan, I'm not singing that. I'll leave Sight singing Smooth Operator. That's all him. I tell you what, he's so relaxed at McLaren, isn't he? He really is. I'm loving Sights and Norris this year, but we're into the final minute now, so I'm gonna deep breath and get ready for this one because this could be about to go mad. At the minute, Giovinazzi, Gasly, Perez, Raikkonen and Magnussen are out as it stands. Hulkenberg's on the bubble in 10th. Ricciardo 9th, Sainz in 8th, Albon 7th, Norris in 6th. Everybody is on track, all on the soft tyres as well. So they will be the tyres that people are starting on tomorrow. I would assume Leclerc, Hamilton, Verstappen, Bottas and Vettel will just scrub in their tyres for Q3. Norris might do the same. I think he's okay there, but like Dan was saying, track evolution, you never know. We might get a surprise. But it looks like we first to get the lap in. I think it's going to be... Is it Perez going to be the first one of those runners that we need to be keeping an eye on? So...
Looks like it.
Keeper... And it's such a long lap as well. It feels like a long lap. I don't actually think it is that long a lap. I said in my preview originally, I think it's one of the longest laps of the year, and then I looked at it, it was like it's nowhere near the longest lap of the year, but the race is always quite a long one as Vettel goes fastest because it's 61 laps and basically the full 2 hours. So sometimes a safety car, just one safety car can make it a timed race. So it's a very long one on Sunday, but that's great for F1 fans as Hamilton stays third. So they are completing their laps. Vettel completed his, but he was on the softs anyway. Leclerc goes fastest as well, 36.6. Ferrari 1-2 at the moment. Hey up. Here comes Perez. We need to be watching who's going to drop out. Perez over the line. He goes and goes 11th. Perez is out. He will get a 5-place grid drop anyway, of course, so that would be 16th from there. Magnussen stays 15th. No improvement, really. Little bit, but really well off the pace. Sainz stays 8th. Not a lot happening here. It's all down to Ricciardo. Ricciardo doesn't improve, stays 9th. Giovinazzi stays 12th. The track is not evolving. All these drivers are making mistakes. This is where Gasly sticks it on pole. Through the final corner for Pierre. No, 13th. And if Raikkonen stays 14th, he has. Wow. So the only one to improve out of those bottom 5 was Perez and only to 11th. It's going to be interesting to see what those laps were, Dan, because that's...
Yeah.
I
think Albon's got a bit lucky as well because I think, the tracker's a little bit strange, to be fair. That's what I'm using. But it seems like Hülkenberg at the very last minute overtook Albon. So I think there could have been a bit of a kerfuffle there if one of those two went out, but they're safe at the moment. But yes, a little bit lucky.
Whoa, kerfuffle, mate, is a fantastic word.
It's a good one, isn't it?
IGP Manager, thank you to Kieran, who's just tweeted this at me, from IGP Manager, a Crofty quote. It says, oh my God, Nico Hülkenberg's girlfriend is here, and she's here to help her man get on top of Daniel Ricciardo. Anyway, it's just such a crofty line. Doesn't even know what he's saying, does he, half the time? I love that. Obviously doesn't mean in that way, but, you know, crofty. And I can imagine he's probably laughing. Sorry. Oh, dear. If nothing else, crofty makes me laugh. He makes me cringe a lot, but he also makes me laugh. But then I'm quite cringy as well, so note up with that. Note up with that. Before we try and read through some of this, so the results from Q2, bit of racing going on back to the pit lane there. Charles Leclerc fastest on a 1:36.6, and it's Vettel a 10th further back in second, Hamilton third, Verstappen fourth, half a second off nearly from Leclerc. So I wonder if there is still some more in that Red Bull. Bottas just behind Verstappen, so it's nicely mixed up there. Lando Norris, again, what a lap. Within a second and 0.3 quicker than Albon, and as you said, Dan, well up the road from his teammate, 0.4 in the end. 8th for Sainz, 9th for Ricciardo, 10th for Hülkenberg, and we've lost Perez, Giovinazzi, Gasly, Raikkonen and Magnussen to join Kvyat, Stroll, Grosjean, Russell and Kubica. So what were the lap times like? Oh, Jesus. Hülkenberg 38.580, Perez in 11th 38.620, Giovinazzi 38.697, Gasly 38.699, Jesus 38.858 for Raikkonen. So nothing again between those midfielders. Whoa. Oh, it's so good. It's so good.
Yeah, we've said it so many times, haven't we? If this midfield fight was for the championship, it would be crazy. And that's why over the last couple of years, we've seen those Formula 1.5 championships flying around because they're just mad.
What's the lap record? Says Immortal Z. I'll get me notes up from the preview. Let's have a look. So the fastest ever lap was a 1:36.015. That was Lewis Hamilton's pole lap from last year. And the race lap record is a 1:41.905. Who holds that record, Dan?
Kevin Magnussen.
He does.
Look at that from last year.
I had to check that a few times. I was like, that can't be right. It can't be K-Mag. It can't be.
Impossible.
But it is. So 36.015 was pole last year. I think it's pole. I literally just said that and I've forgotten already. How bad's that? But I think that's right. Yes. Anyway. Who's getting pole then, chap? One surname before we get into Q3. Is it going to be a Ferrari? Are they going to spring a surprise? A big surprise? Or are Mercedes still sandbagging and they're going to go stick it on pole by a week? What do you reckon, Dan? Who's getting pole?
I'm sticking with my guns and saying Hamilton, but this is a little bit more tense than I expected.
I mean, we should stick to what we said, really.
Yes.
How dull would that be? I'm still going to say Verstappen. I think that Red Bull's got more pace in it than we're seeing at the moment. But at the same time, if it had the pace, why is he not showing it? Because Albon was not quick, was he? 1.2 seconds off the fastest time. What was that off his teammate then? 6, 7, 8 tenths off his teammate. That's a big gap.
Yeah, that's a little surprising. I mean, of course, the final lap is what counts in Q3.
Absolutely.
But this is what we saw with Gasly, wasn't it? He'd get through to Q3 just, and then would be down in 9th and 10th. So if Albon can even just get 6th, it doesn't matter if he's half a second off Verstappen, in my opinion anyway. If he can just get 6th, that's all he needs to do for the rest of the year. And that's exactly what we said with Gasly for those first 10, 12 races.
Yeah.
Also. Yeah, so... yeah, definitely needs to improve in his final session, but he's looking okay.
Here's a stat for you. It's just on screen. Bottas has never started in the top 3 in Singapore.
Ooh, that's a good stat. Yeah, I like that one.
He was having a rough old time towards the end of last year, though, wasn't he? So that would explain that. But 2017, I thought it was right up there. No, we can't have been because it was... the 2 Ferraris and a Red Bull, wasn't it? That went well.
Yeah, the race that Jolyon Palmer led for 1 lap or 2. I don't know why Palmer's on my mind at the moment. I'm pretty sure. Well, I said something yesterday that he was second place at one point, and then someone corrected me and said through the pit stop phases, Palmer was leading for a time. So... whether that's right or he was definitely up in second, though. And that was the race. Sorry, I'm just going off now. That was the race. I don't know if you remember, where Palmer overtook Bottas.
Yes, he
turn
did.
1. Yes. So there you go.
Did he retire with an engine issue or something?
Maybe.
Or am I thinking there was another race where he had a really good race and then blew up? Or was that might have been Monza, Karma, and all that?
Yes, I think it was. Yeah, that one.
I didn't know he. Did I know? Well, I obviously didn't because I was surprised. I told you to shut up. I thought you were lying to me again, Dan. Wow. Palmer led a race.
Yeah, maybe he could get the Red Bull seat next year. Who knows?
Don't make me laugh. I think Claire Williams was asked about Maldonado, wasn't she? And her response was something along the lines of he's not been in F1 for a long time, and that was it. So that's enough. It's not a no, is it?
No. If he brings the money, I think they wouldn't. Well, they'd consider him at least.
Oh God, could you imagine? No.
Don't start, please.
No, thank you. Lewis Hamilton on team radio just saying a lot of cars out in front of him, and there are, to be fair. He is behind a Ferrari, a McLaren, a Ferrari, and a McLaren. I think I assume the lead Ferrari is Leclerc. I don't know.
On the track map that I'm looking at, it says it's Vettel, but this thing is pinging cars from turn 7 all the way back to turn 1. So I'm not taking that as gospel because I don't think that's how it works.
Where'd you get the tracker from?
It's just on the official F1 app. I mean, cheeky plug. Yeah, and then it just sort of says live timing, and you wiggle your way. Eventually, it gets there. It took me a while to find it. I'll put it that way.
I might see if I can find it for tomorrow's race. I could do with knowing where people are, because you don't get to see it on TV. Bottas is behind a McLaren, so it's not like so. It's it is Vettel that's the lead Ferrari. There's some words in there somewhere, and is that Bottas stuck behind both McLarens? He's going to get around one of them. He gets past Lando, and is he going to get past Sainz? Sainz ain't going to let him through. So Bottas is going to be compromised here on his first run. Nothing against Carlos Sainz, of course, unless Bottas can get through. They're coming through 21 now, according to the map on the Sky thing. No, he's backing off. Yeah. Here we go. Seb is going to be first one to set a lap. Then it'll be Sainz and Bottas, I believe, and then Norris. Oh, this quite tense, Dan.
Yeah, well, they've just been so close all the way through. And as we said at the beginning, we've not seen that for so long. And people love to hit the wall in this circuit.
Yeah.
And even if it's just a little tap, that makes so much of a difference. So they're going to be putting it all on the line right now, which is peak Formula One.
If I was picking a driver I'd like to see on pole, it'd be Vettel or Albon. I'd love Seb on pole. He needs it. He could really do with that boost. Yeah. But I'd also quite like to see Bottas for the championship's sake. So, yeah, nothing against Hamilton, Verstappen and Leclerc, but, if they want to just start 4th, 5th and 6th, that's absolutely fine. We'll have a starting grid of Vettel, Albon and Bottas. That'll do.
I think that's what makes this so good is there's so many drivers in there at the front that have got something to prove this weekend. So they're going to be driving their heart out. But, yeah, I think I agree with you. However, if Norris gets pole, like we were just sort of alluding to a minute ago, I wouldn't mind.
The thing is, though, I'm sat here like, could Leclerc do it? Could Vettel do it? Based on, and I think you said it right at the start, Dan, based on what we saw last year, Lewis Hamilton is more than capable of putting one of the best laps he's ever put together in his life to take pole position. So 36.4 from Vettel over the line. So that's 4 tenths slower than last year's pole. So Sainz at 38.6. I'm looking forward to Norris's lap. Here comes Bottas. He goes through, and it's a 37.4, a second slower than Vettel. What's Lewis Hamilton doing? Are these used-ish tyres, aren't they? Norris at 38.7. Here comes Lewis Hamilton over the line. Whoa, 37.4. They're a second slower. Leclerc goes second on 36.7. Wow. Vettel fastest at the moment by 3 tenths. Here comes Verstappen. He goes third. Ooh, where has Ferrari's pace come from?
This is madness. I mean, talk of a Ferrari front wing upgrade. I thought it was a load of rubbish. It's made the world of difference.
Albon's gone 6th, 1.5 off. So at the minute, Vettel is fastest by 3 tenths, just ahead of his teammate. Then Verstappen is 3 tenths further back. And then Hamilton and Bottas are a second off Vettel's pole time at the moment, or provisional pole time. Albon in 6th, Sainz 7th, Norris 8th, Ricciardo 9th, and Hülkenberg 10th.
That's a lot of time Mercedes have to find there. I mean, we haven't seen their laps yet, so there might have been a few little scruffy moments, but that's a lot of time.
You say that Vettel hit the wall, actually, on the exit of one of the corners, so that cost him time, so he's got time on the table still. A few people in chat saying sandbagging. If Mercedes is still sandbagging with 6 minutes to go in Q3, then they are very confident. They're more confident than I would be as a team boss, that's for sure. I think the pace from Ferrari, if not, even if Mercedes go and crank it up now and do nick pole, their pace is a damn sight better than I thought it was going to be. I wrote them off in my preview. Completely.
I did the same. I mean, who should believe us?
Yeah, don't ever believe us. I've got a logo that doesn't even say F1 word, and Dan can't be bothered to change it, so he just put a slash in it. Don't listen to us. Going up to the 6th, just slagging us off, Dan, why not? Going up to the 6 minute mark in Q3. A lot of dents on the wall. Martin Brunner just talking about whether it's Leclerc that gets the first run this time. I'm surprised by that lap. people in chat that are saying sandbagging, they might be right. It just doesn't feel... I feel like Mercedes have got more than that in them.
Yeah, that's a very big gap. I mean, you said there that Bottas's lap was kind of compromised, but even then...
Bottas is even more compromised. He got it all wrong in turn 1 and 2. Big slide. So that's not cost him a second, but it's cost him some time. That would have put him ahead of Lewis Hamilton. Here's Lewis Hamilton now. And he goes wide and over the sausage curves at 9. So there is time for Mercedes still. This isn't over. Whoa. Judith Spore says, does it matter here who goes first? I don't think so, other than track position. I think maybe they want to get out and not have anybody in front of us so they can work on preparing their outlap properly. So in terms of the tone, no. But in terms of just outlap preparation, I think it does. But yeah. It's not over this, Dan, because those Mercedes made 2 fairly sizable errors. I don't think it's a second. I don't think either of those cost them a second, but they cost them a few tenths. So hook a lap up. Verstappen purple, by the way, in the final sector. So,
yeah, all of them can find time. Even Vettel, he hit the wall. So all of those top 5 potentially still in the running, which is absolutely lovely.
Martin Brundle just mentioned to Christian Horner there what I said about it being 4 tenths off last year's pole time. So, So Vettel is going first, but he's going to come out behind Nico Hulkenberg. Then it's Verstappen, who's now got Sainz in front of him. Daniel Ricciardo behind Max. So Leclerc is going to be the last of the 2 Ferraris. Might compromise his prep lap, but I'm not really sure. He's got quite a good gap to those ahead of him, to be fair, so he should be okay. Ross says Renault will be disappointed they're that much slower. Where are they? 3.1. Yeah, 3.1 for Hulkenberg, 2.6 for Ricciardo. 4 tenths off Norris from Danny Rick. Yeah, good point. Did they? I think they might have run on used tyres though, but then McLaren would have done, wouldn't they? I think.
Yeah, and Hulkenberg as well. Just is that 5 tenths off his teammate? I mean, Hulkenberg seems to have had the edge so far this weekend. I know you shouldn't read into practice, but I'm surprised. Maybe he made a mistake as well. They all seem to be doing just little moments here and there. So I think it's still anyone's game. And to be fair, I think just getting both cars into Q2, if you're any team in that midfield, that's an achievement. So I don't think they'll be too disappointed.
So the last ones to set a time, the last one to set a time will be Lewis Hamilton. The Mercedes are just going out. Vettel is out front, preparing for his lap. One more run. They've gone out quite early, those first few runners, actually. Mercedes and Verstappen have left it quite late. So Hamilton will be last across the line. So in theory, if the track is evolving as we all expected it to, he should be driving in the best conditions here. But we shall see. I still think Mercedes have got more than that. I do. We've been bitten too many times by Mercedes in their, oh no, we're not very fast this weekend. So I'm not falling for it until they're 20th. Until I see them driving around at the back 6 seconds off the pace, I don't believe them. Remember testing, all that talk we did, Dan. Oh, Ferrari, they're favourites here, and then...
Yes, still scarred from that. Still scarred, I think most people are.
I think Sky actually made a great point when they were discussing something to do with them this morning in FP3, that it feels like a disappointing season for Ferrari. But when you look at the stats, it's actually not in terms of poles and in terms of a couple of wins as well and races where they could and should have won. But it feels so disappointing because it's, what was the phrase they used? Unfulfilled potential.
That's a good phrase. And it only seems like now they're finally unlocking that pace and actually delivering.
Opposite to what we've seen in recent years. Ferrari start strong and then finish poorly, whereas they started poorly-ish and now they're potentially finishing strong. If they're quick here, they should be quick at most tracks between now and the end of the season. So I think this was the big worry for them. This was one of them. We could be in for a spicy end season. Charles Leclerc goes purple in the first sector by a tenth and a half. Verstappen on a personal best. Vettel is not improving, so Vettel is 36.4. That's why he'll stay. We're coming up to the 30-second mark. I'm just going to have to have a drink because this could get very exciting. We'll keep an eye on Mercedes. They're going to be a while before they get going. In fact, they should be starting. Oh, Leclerc sideways just on the entry to the Anderson Bridge. He's absolutely on it, right on the ragged edge. I was going to say Charlie boy. It's old Charlie boy. Vettel's given up. He's in the pits, so Vettel is not going to complete his lap. He wasn't a great lap up to that point. Personal best in the middle. Personal best for Hamilton in the first, but personal best for Leclerc in the middle. Here comes Verstappen. What can he do? Can he get himself on that front row in between a couple of Ferraris? What could possibly go wrong? Over the line goes Max Verstappen. Stays third place. Does not improve in the final sector, but does improve overall. Still 3/10 off. What can Charles Leclerc do? As it stands, Vettel on pole. Leclerc purple and green for his lap so far. Coming through 22 and into 23. Over the line he goes. Charles Leclerc is pole position as it stands on a 36.2. The crowd are going wild, but just hang on a second. Lewis Hamilton is not purple, but his personal bests. Bottas is slower in the middle, so it is between Hamilton and Leclerc for pole position. As it stands, Mercedes are only 4th and 5th. Leclerc is on pole again. What can Hamilton do? Albon goes P4.
Whoa.
Lap from Albon. Over the line goes Hamilton. He goes second on the grid. Oh, reigniting the Monza battle. Leclerc is on pole unless Bottas can shock us. He can't. Only 5th for Bottas. 6th for Albon in the end. Charles Leclerc. It's another pole position. I am never doing predictions ever again. Where has that come from for Ferrari? Charles Leclerc on pole. His 5th career pole position, as it says on screen on the TV, and his 3rd in a row. Lewis Hamilton in 2nd place. Sebastian Vettel 3rd. Probably should be a Ferrari front row lockout, really, but his final lap, was not good at all. Verstappen in 4th. Bottas 5th. Albon 6th. Sainz is 7th. Bloody hell, I can't breathe. 8th is Daniel Ricciardo. 9th is Nico Hülkenberg. 10th is Lando Norris. Oh, just watching. And is Vettel's on board. Oh, really sideways. I think that's through. Is that 5 maybe? It's one of the 90-degree ones. Turn 14. Very wide. Big slide. Doesn't hit the wall, but that cost him a lot of time. He abandoned that lap. But it is Charles Leclerc on pole. I suppose, Dan, the question is, what the hell, Ferrari?
Where is that? Where's that come from? How have they done that? And Leclerc now, I believe, has the most pole positions of anybody this season in 2019. So, hey, that pace we saw in winter testing seems to finally have arrived. And as we've said several times today, a circuit we expected them to struggle at. Look at Hungary. They were comfortably the 3rd best team.
Yeah.
Now that they're really bringing it to Mercedes. And again, only qualifying and race from tomorrow, it could be very different. And Red Bull could show up with a really strong race pace at circuits like this. But it's anyone's game. And that is lovely.
We weren't there, but we left that weekend behind us in Monza, and I think we were all in agreement on the stream that was it for Ferrari this season. They'd struggle to win again. Singapore, they'll really struggle. They'll struggle in Russia. We expect to struggle in Japan. Pole position for Leclerc in Singapore. I cannot go back and watch the preview if you've not seen it. I was pretty clear there. I did not think this year's Ferrari will be any good in Singapore. They've bought updates. They've smashed it. At a track where they're not expected to be quick. And I know the championship's over, but Charles Leclerc, if he continues on this form, has got a shot of ended up in that top 3, maybe even as runner-up this season.
It's absolutely crazy. Yeah, long way to go for sure. But how mad is it? Like you said, in Hungary, they were almost a second off the pace in qualifying. Here, they've got an upgraded front wing. Okay, 3 DRS zones should help them, but that's a hell of a lot of time they've found. And to, like you say, Vettel probably, if he hadn't made that mistake on his final lap, he could have been pole even further ahead of the 2 Mercedes. So they have some serious pace. And like you say, the form Leclerc's on, maybe a P2 in the championship isn't too far-fetched. And I didn't think I'd be saying that at the summer break.
Oh, obviously, qualifying is one thing, the race is the other. As we saw in Monza on race pace, of Ferrari not as good as Merc, but it's a street circuit. So he's got the sweat pouring off these drivers. I'm not surprised. But it's a street circuit. And as I said about Renault in the preview as well, that maybe they won't be that quick, but if they can get a good start and get themselves ahead of people, they can make their car nice and wide, get the strategy right, and it's tough to overtake. So he's got himself. I mean, that's an all right top four by me, Dan. Leclerc, Hamilton, Vettel, Verstappen. That's a very tasty race potentially tomorrow. I'm just looking at the drivers. Sorry, I know it's hot in Singapore, but that must have been knackering. The effort that goes into these laps is incredible. But Leclerc, he said on the team radio, Dan, I made 3 mistakes on that lap. Lost control 3 times. So there's even time on the table. I can't get over that. Yeah. Why are Ferrari quick?
And I tell you what's also crazy, Bottas down in P5. We've said all year long that Hamilton's without a rear gunner. So Ferrari looking really strong for tomorrow.
Yeah, Seb, if Seb doesn't get ahead of Hamilton and Leclerc keeps the position, he can trigger, can't he? He can trigger the undercut and force Hamilton into a decision, or force Mercedes into a decision that might actually help Leclerc. So, it's good. I mean, in terms of other laps as well, I mean, Hamilton's final lap was pretty special given that he was a second off at one point. So to find over 9 tenths to get himself up into second is incredible. Vettel, I'll have to say, probably should have been better without his mistakes. Could have been on that front row, but I think 3rd place for him, it's not the end of the world, is it? It's long race tomorrow. Max Verstappen 4th. Do you know that is a surprise? Max Verstappen 4th. I thought Red Bull were on it this way. I thought this was their track. I really did.
Yeah, I think there's some time on the table there because even Albon has ended up a little bit closer than Verstappen than he's been all weekend. So, yeah, I think I'd expect better from Max. But at circuits like this, Red Bull seem to have as good a race pace, if not better race pace than those other 2 teams. So I wouldn't count them out just yet. But yeah, I agree with you. I think Max will be a little disappointed that he's not on the...
Stat from race fans: pole positions in 2019. Verstappen 1, Vettel 1, Bottas 4, Hamilton 4, Leclerc 5. 5 pole positions. He's got more than anybody now on the grid, which, given that qualifying was pretty much dominated by Mercedes earlier in the season, it's not, it's not Charles Leclerc fanboying. It's looking at Ferrari and saying that kind of shows how their season's turned around quite a bit.
Yeah, and what I find quite funny as well is at the beginning of the year, but obviously before any racing had happened, that was the one thing that people were saying about Charles Leclerc, that he wasn't good enough. They said, he's not good enough in qualifying. He traditionally, last season, didn't get all 3 sectors hooked up and ended up dropping back a little bit. But this year, especially after those first 3 or 4 races, I know Bahrain he got pole, but especially since Austria, he has been, I think since Austria, he's out-qualified Vettel every race, and that continues again today. So he is really turning up the wick this second half of the season.
Yeah. I can't get over it, mate. I can't. It's, I'm knocking on every bit of wood I can find, giggly. That's excited me for the rest of the season. Because I know there's still the race to go, but if Ferrari have got pace in Singapore on this track, they should be quick at some of those other tracks that we were concerned about coming up in the rest of the season. Red Bull should still be strong as well. Mercedes are going to be strong. Like I said earlier, we could, if they can deliver that pace in the race, they don't need to win it, but if they can be on pace with Mercedes in that race tomorrow, we could be looking at 3 teams consistently fighting for pole positions and wins. And that excites me so much. I've always said, I said it all season, I don't care who wins the championship. I don't care which team goes to constructors. I don't care if Lewis Hamilton wins every single race, so long as what we see in that race is exciting. That's what matters to me.
Yeah, no, I'm the same. I mean, we could all probably agree, although after today, maybe not so much, but the championship is pretty much wrapped up. And yet these last 7 races have been phenomenal. And I think I'd say that 2019, I mean, again, maybe a bit of recency bias, but has been one of the best seasons for a long time. and yet the championship is barely even a factor we're including. So, yeah, I agree with you. We could be in store for a brilliant end to the season.
I've seen a couple on Twitter now talking about how, could this championship be reignited? Is Leclerc turning out to be an outsider? I'm not going to get that carried away. I think the championship's still done. Lewis Hamilton's 63 points clear of Bottas, 100 and something clear of Charles Leclerc, so he's going to have a lot of DNFs or non-points finishes for this to turn around. But again, like I say, it's the racing that matters to me, and we could be in for a great final few races this season. Obviously, and I know people have pointed out a lot in the comments after this, but the race hasn't happened yet. Mercedes could disappear by 3-4 seconds. We might get an absolute snooze fest tomorrow. Or Ferrari might disappear by 4 or 5 seconds and we'll get a snooze fest. But it's good to see, again, that a track that we were not expecting Ferrari to be strong at, they are strong at. And a track where we were expecting the Red Bulls to be strong at, they're not as strong at. So I think it kind of, do you get the point I'm making? It just shows that as this season's progressed and like Ferrari have got on top of their car and Red Bull have got their problem sorted. In fact, I think you've possibly just said it, Dan. I'm sorry for repeating what you said, mate. We're starting to see what we saw in pre-season.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I've said a few times that in Bahrain, during that race, I was sat there thinking, my God, Ferrari really have it this year. I'm sitting here now thinking exactly that. Whether it's a little bit too early to say, I don't know. But 3 races now, all a little bit different. Monza pretty much flat out most of the laps. Spa, the middle section or the second sector is a little bit twistier. And this is very twisty. You imagine, like you've said a couple of times now, any track they go to from now on, okay, it's not a guaranteed pole position or front row, but they're going to be right there. And that's definitely something that before the summer break, we were not expecting.
The Russia's going to be interesting, full stop, and so not often to say that. Russia will be an interesting one. So will Mexico, because they've got those really long straights, haven't they? So that's Ferrari looking good there. But then they've got some really technical parts to the lap as well. So I know I'm getting ahead of myself. I've not even had Singapore Grand Prix yet, and I'm talking about Russia, but that's quite exciting because we're going to see... I'm just repeating what I've already said. We're just going to see a very close battle between the top 3, and I'm totally cool with that. Let's talk about somebody other than Ferrari and Mercedes. We've touched on Red Bull. We expected them to be quicker, obviously, but Albon 1.1. He's 0.6 off his teammate. 1.1 off pole. Half a second clear of Sainz. It's 6th. Which is what you said, Dan. That's kind of what we need from Albon, and that's what he's done. So
he's not miles off Bottas.
No, he's not, is he? 0.2. So, yeah, I think Red Bull will be disappointed. Bottas will be, down in 5th place behind Verstappen. But I'm intrigued, and I'm just keeping an eye on Sky because they might show a replay as to what happened with Lando Norris, because his Q2 lap was phenomenal to do as well as he did, but he's ended up 10th. And what's that? 0.5 off his teammate in 7th.
Was his Q2 lap better than his Q3 lap? I don't know if I'm dreaming of that.
I can soon tell you.
Yeah, I feel there's got to be a mistake there by Norris. That is
37.5 in Q2. Yeah, 38.3 in Q3. So yeah, he is 0.8. 0.8 slower in Q3 than he was in Q2.
Yeah, that's a big surprise. I'll look forward to it on board. Yeah.
Annette says Albon's first time at Singapore, 3rd time in a race. That's a good point. Yeah, actually, to be fair to Albon, that's his first ever session. It was qualifying session around Singapore. So that's not too bad, actually, when you think about it like that. And he's up against Max Verstappen. I need to stop comparing him to Max because there's just no point. There's just absolutely no point. Unless you're going to stick a Lewis Hamilton in there, you can't compare the two. You can't compare Verstappen to a teammate. Really. Maybe I'm in the wrong, but I just don't see the point.
No, I agree with you. I think it's only his 3rd race for Red Bull as well.
Yeah.
0.3 behind Bottas. It's all right. And as I've said at the beginning, I think all he needs to do for the rest of the year is get P6, something that Gasly just wasn't doing enough or on a consistent enough basis. So that's fine. I think, like you said, I think Red Bull will be a little disappointed with fourth and sixth, but realistically, they know the race is tomorrow. They should have a good race car. And fourth and sixth, that's one of few occasions this year they've had both cars in the top six.
Yeah, and it's you've got that great fight at the front now. You've got Leclerc, Hamilton, Vettel, Verstappen, as I was saying earlier. But when you ignore the top three teams, Sainz 2/10 quicker than Ricciardo, who's 2/10 quicker than Hulkenberg, who's a tenth quicker than Norris. So McLaren and Renault are pretty close to each other. So that's going to be a tasty little scrap tomorrow as well. So I'm really looking forward to that. Really, really looking forward to that one. I always say to people, if it gets boring at the front or you think it's boring at the front, just watch the midfield. If the TV ever picks up on it, watch the midfield because it's going to be epic tomorrow as well. Should be a safety car should be a safety car tomorrow because 100% record in Singapore every year. There has been at least one safety car period in Singapore with I think 3 in 2017. So yeah. I don't know. Sorry. I'm not even going to ask the question. Seb's struggling was down to car's front end. Proof, says Suji. Thank you very much for your contribution there. Yeah, that's a fair point. If he's struggling, then yeah. Singapore's very much front end, isn't it? So they bought the update as well, Ferrari. But anyway, let's not get into that. I'm waiting for the results to pop up on the official F1 website. But whilst I'm doing that, and it's just done it, so whilst I'm putting that into the stream, in the chat, do let me know. Who do you think is going to win the race tomorrow? Now that we've had qualifying, what are you expecting? Who's going to win it? Or let me know your podium if you like. Your top 3. I'll do mine in a moment. Dan, what do you reckon, mate? It'll be good.
Yeah. I'm going to go with the Leclerc victory, a Verstappen P2 and a Hamilton P3. Is what I'm going to, and a safety car on the first lap.
So you think Leclerc's going to win?
Yeah.
Verstappen second and Hamilton third.
Yes. Don't say it like that, or else I'm going to regret it instantly.
No, I was thinking that. I'm just trying to think that would be quite an exciting race. Not that it won't be anyway. It's got the potential, but that's. Yeah. I'm going to be boring. I would say Hamilton win. Leclerc second, Verstappen third.
That's not too bad. That's still, and of course, it's how we get there. That's what matters.
Yeah, exactly. But the reason I'm picking Hamilton is because he's got a point to make after Monza. And he's already said he knows where the line is now, so he can be more aggressive in that overtake. He can be more aggressive in defence. And I do think from what we saw on Friday, the race pace of that Mercedes is better. So it's going to be what's going to be interesting tomorrow is which way do they go with strategy. Drivers, do they go undercut or overcut? Because last year, Max Verstappen went for the overcut and beat Sebastian Vettel. Vettel obviously went for the undercut and it didn't work. So it'll be interesting to see which way they go with that one. But I suppose it's going to come down to what the conditions are like tomorrow, but also the safety car. What I'd like is an early safety car, not like a massive accident or anything like that. Just maybe an early safety car that means that drivers can't take advantage of that for strategy, if that makes sense. I don't want a safety car on lap 15 so that Leclerc, for example, can come in, get rid of the soft tyres, put the hards on and go to the end. I'd rather see a safety car on like lap 2 when they can't use that. Because I always feel robbed when a safety car comes out. We've not had pit stops. It's like midway through the race and you're like, oh great, that's that then. That'd be cool. But a couple of safety cars tomorrow wouldn't be the end of the world to spice up strategy, but I'm intrigued by which way they go overcut and undercut. And we won't know until tomorrow. That's something that they'll have data on, but pretty sure last year Ferrari were confident on the undercut with Vettel and it didn't work, and Red Bull were confident on the overcut. So we shall see is the way to go on that one. Let's read some of your predictions before we end the stream and run through the results. Again, just while I'm scrolling up, don't forget to drop a like on the stream as well. That'd be massively appreciated. And also, if you are new, please do subscribe. You are very welcome here. It's good to have you with us. And I'll be back tomorrow for the race watch-along. Similar to this, but with the cool timings graphics, which just look ace. Cool timings by name, cool timings by nature. CS Gaming says Leclerc. Pablo says Albon. Ooh. That'd be a good race, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Be intrigued as to what you're thinking happens at the front. Hope Leclerc, but probably Hamilton, says Alaz. Simone says Leclerc. Sammy Leclerc, Bottas, Ricciardo. Oh, I'm liking some of these. I'll forget them all by tomorrow, but yeah. If you come along tomorrow, let me know your predictions again for that, because that'd be, yeah. Hamilton, Leclerc, Albon, says Daniel. I went with, on Thursday, I think I went Verstappen, Hamilton, Albon. I'd love to see Albon on the podium. I really would. Hamilton, Hamilton, Vettel, Verstappen, says Ash Cash. Commander Benkai says tasty. I need to start. It's you, Dan. You're rubbing off on me, mate. Spicy and tasty. Rahul says Leclerc, Hamilton, Verstappen. Yeah, Neil says Leclerc, Vettel, Verstappen. Leclerc, Max, Hamilton says Mashiro. Apex, Vettel, Leclerc, Verstappen. Couple more. Finley says Vettel, Verstappen, crash lap 1. Ugh. One more. Who have we got? Somebody I've not read out yet. A few people putting some crazy predictions in now. C Fury says McLaren 5th and 6th. A lot of people saying there'll be some crashes on lap 1. And Abdul says Hamilton, Leclerc, Ricciardo. Another one saying Ricciardo. Interesting. I wouldn't mind seeing that, because it means we've had a cracking race, or a dramatic race at least. But no threat of rain tomorrow, as far as I know, Dan, unless you've seen something different. I think it's going to be hot and humid.
Yeah, I've not seen anything whatsoever, to be honest. So if there was, I wouldn't know either. So that's my input.
There you go. Weatherman Dan. Just for you right there, and might rain, whatever. Who knows? But no rain forecast. So let's have a look at this result then. It's on screen. It's been on for a while now. But Charles Leclerc on pole position, provisional pole. We never know. There could be some investigations later. I doubt it, though. Lando Norris has just eaten a fly, I think, as he arrives for an interview. Anyway, Charles Leclerc on pole, Lewis Hamilton second, Sebastian Vettel in third. 2/10 between the three of them. So that's nice and close, actually. Max Verstappen, can't get over that. Only fourth. I thought he was on for better than that. 5/10, nearly 6/10 off in the end. Valtteri Bottas only fifth. Alex Albon in sixth place. As Annette pointed out, his first ever run around Singapore in the qualifying. So bit of credit there, I think, but still 6/10 off his teammate. Race is what matters, I guess. Seventh for Carlos Sainz. Oh my God.
You're almost there, don't worry.
Seventh for Carlos Sainz. I've had a sore throat all week, and I'm battling through, but I love it. Seventh, Carlos Sainz. Eighth, Daniel Ricciardo. In ninth place is Nico Hulkenberg. Lando Norris in 10th. Sergio Perez in 11th. Antonio Giovinazzi 12th. Pierre Gasly 13th. Sorry, Perez in 11th takes a 5-place grid drop as well, as he'll drop to 16th unless there's any other penalties. Pierre Gasly 13th. Kimi Raikkonen in 14th. Kevin Magnussen 15th. Daniel Kvyat did take a new gearbox. I think it was a gearbox, but doesn't take a penalty for that one, or a power unit might have been, but I can't remember. Lance Stroll in 17th. Romain Grosjean celebrating his new Haas deal in 18th. Sorry, Dad. George Russell in 19th. And Robert Kubica in 20th place. I don't think there's any surprises towards the back there. Lap of the day then, Dan. That's something we don't often do, but it'd be worth doing. A bit like driver of the day, but who's lap? It can be for any session, if you like. Lap of the day.
Oh, I'm tempted to say Giovinazzi. I think he's in. He's ahead of Raikkonen, which I always think is a really good job. It's a circuit he's never been to before. Under pressure at the moment. Start P11 tomorrow, and last year I think it was Sainz who started P11, and starting those fresh, he could be in with a good chance of points. So. No, you know what? I'm going to throw that out the window instantly and say Kevin Magnussen from Q1, because I did not expect a Haas to get through at all. Only just he managed to get through, but I thought that was a really good lap.
I agree with chat. Norris in Q2 for me, but McGath actually saying 11th onwards have a massive strategic advantage. So going to what you were saying there, and back to what I said about the safety car. If the safety car comes out at the wrong point for the leaders, and 11th and Nat have all started on the medium, we could, I mean, I'm not saying Perez or Giovinazzi is going to win the race or anything like that, but we could see some surprise leaders like we saw with, apparently, Jolyon Palmer a couple of years ago. So, yeah, I mean, that's, in terms of lap of the day, I've got to go Norris in Q2.
Yeah, I forgot about that one.
The fact it was quicker than its Q3 lap. But if we're looking at just Q3, that's got to be Leclerc. But only because I'm so surprised that Ferrari have got any pace whatsoever. Incredible. Couple of questions before we disappear, as we always do. Straight in with Mango Gamer YT says Ferrari now back in the championship ? Bit crazy. No. If I'm honest, I can't see it. As I said earlier, I think Hamilton 100 and something points clear, I think, of Charles Leclerc, or nearly 100 points at the very least. I can't remember what it was now. That's going to annoy me, but I'll have a look later. But Hamilton's going to need a lot of DNFs, or Ferrari will need Hamilton to DNF a lot if they're going to challenge for the title. But they can at least try and make it uncomfortable for them. That's for sure. The constructors, no way. No way. Mercedes have got that in the bag after that insane start to the season they had. How many 1-2s was it? 5 in a row from the start?
Yeah, 5 up to Spain.
So that, for me, without sounding like a right bore, the constructors was done after Spain. In my personal opinion, I think I said at the time that's the constructors done. So I don't think so. But what it does do is it gives Ferrari, and I didn't say this after Monza, and I meant to, and I was going to tweet it and completely forgot. But I think what this last 2 races have done, and what tomorrow has the potential to do, is end Red Bull's hopes of second in the constructors.
Yeah, that's a good point. Especially when you look at Albon today. I mean, and I know I've said for next year, all he has to do is stay 6th. But I mean, we said it so many times in the winter. And I think we forget quite a lot in 2019. This is their first year with Honda. And we said if they can just comfortably get 3rd overall in the constructors, get a couple of wins, that'll be a strong season for them. But yeah, I think you're right there. I think Ferrari have got 2nd place now. And
Daly asking if Williams can score points again. Yeah, they can. You need another Germany, don't you? Really, if they're going to do it. But then again, a couple of safety cars at the right time maybe could nick a 10th place. I'd like Russell to get a point for multiple reasons. Number one, I think his driving this year deserves a point, especially the crap he's having to put up with that car. But secondly, I love it when every driver scores points. I just like it. I don't like seeing a 0 on the championship table. I think it's always rubbish when you see that, because last year everybody scored, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
So I think they can. It's a big ask, though, isn't it, Dan? But I think that they'd need a bit of chaos.
Yeah, especially considering it'd be this kind of circuit which would suit their car. And we saw today no real chance of getting through to Q2. And even in Hungary, although Russell was close, that was aided a little bit by Ricciardo and Perez having a bit of a kerfuffle. There you go, mate. So, yeah, it's not out the realms of possibility. It happened in Germany, but unlikely.
Neil's predicting Williams to do Crashgate 2.0 to get a point.
That's brilliant.
Astro Stevo agrees. Russell deserves points. Just if nothing else, that Twitter account as well, where the Has George Russell scored points yet Twitter account could be like, yeah, he has. That'd be great. Then Commander Ben Kai makes a fairish point, says Williams should have turned up with an F1 car, which is yeah. Actually, I'll tell you what, I'll throw a question at chat as well, and I'll throw it at you, Dan, before we finish. There was a comment made, I think it was by Otmar Safenauer, basically saying that if we go the way we're going with 2021, F1 cars are going to be only just quicker than Formula 2 cars. Would you rather have, and I think I know the answer to this, but I'm still going to put it to people because it'd be interesting to get some opinions, but would you rather have slower F1 cars and amazing racing, or the fastest cars we've ever witnessed and crap racing? It's a tough call, I know. Whoa.
Yeah, I just the first option, I think. No, I've said it before, actually. A lot of people complained that this year the cars weren't going to be as quick with these new front wings. Honestly, it makes no difference whatsoever to me if the cars are a second lap slower in quali this year than they were last year. It makes zero difference. I mean, it all depends on what you watch Formula One for. But no, I'm all for the racing rather than outright speed.
What I would say is that Otmar Safenauer was saying that they reckon F1 cars would be as much as 6 seconds slower than they are now. Bearing in mind, going back to your point, Dan, that they were talking about how the cars would be 1.5 seconds slower this year with the new front wings, and they're smashing records left, right, and centre. But also, on average, I think somebody was saying that F2 cars are sort of 12 to 15 seconds, I think, slower than F1 cars. So even if F1 cars do go down that route, they're still going to be 6+ seconds quicker than Formula 2. And probably a damn sight quicker than anything ran in the 80s. So I'd rather have amazing racing. You look at F2, and I don't believe either, by the way, that they're going to be that slow. I just don't believe it. And they're talking about 2021. Teams will find a way around it. Liberty can employ all the people they want to try and find loopholes. Are you telling me Adrian Newey won't find another loophole inside a loophole that's not supposed to be a loophole, with another loophole that twists around to an... Yeah, you get the point I'm making with Adrian Newey. He'll find a way around them somehow.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that. I mean, if I'm fully honest, if they were slower than F2 cars, then I would have an issue. But apart from that, it's totally fine.
Oliver Kenworthy just asking there if we know what happened to the Mission Winnow sponsor. I have no idea, to be honest. I don't know if anybody in chat can answer that for him. I have no idea. I just know some countries outlawed it, didn't they? It went to court and they said they couldn't use them, but I don't know about everybody else. So, I mean, it's important. I must say, just on that point I was making, we don't want slow cars. We don't want.
No.
We don't want it to look like a Tesco car park on a Saturday afternoon. That's not all we're saying, but I'm not bothered if the cars are 3-4 seconds slower than they are now and we get amazing racing. And again, I don't believe they're going to be as close as to the F2 speeds as they're saying. But yeah, I think we'll leave it there, Dan, because I'm only chatting because I love talking, well, to you, mate, to be honest. But I also love talking motorsport or Formula One.
That's a lie.
It is a total lie. But yes, mate, it's been a pleasure as always. I do enjoy these little qualifying rambles whilst we're watching the session. Looking forward to tomorrow now. It's going to be spicy.
It is. I wonder where you got that word from. Really good session today. Tomorrow, even if there's no safety cars, no dramas, I think we're in for a good race. So, as always, mate, thank you for having me. I've really enjoyed it as well.
No worries. No, oh my
yes.
God. No worries, mate. Enjoy the race tomorrow, and I'm sure I'll talk to you soon.
See you later. See you later, chat. Hope you enjoyed quali.
Lovely. Thank you very much to Dan. And of course, thank you to you guys for coming along. Just a tiny heads up for you. As things stand right now, brace yourself. You'll already know if you follow me on Twitter. It will just be the race watched on tomorrow and no reaction. If that changes, I will let you know. But as it stands, there is no reaction tomorrow. I will try and get something sorted, though. Just wanted to give you a quick heads up on that one. But I will be back tomorrow about 1:30, 1:40 UK time, PM, obviously, for the Singapore Grand Prix race watch-along with the timings from Cool Timings, which will be good fun. Looking forward to tomorrow's race. It set us up very nicely indeed. Don't forget, you can, of course, follow me over on social media. All of the links you need for that are in the description down below. Don't forget as well to drop a like on the stream and subscribe if you're new so you don't miss that watch along on Sunday. If you're not into your streams quite as much and prefer a bit of a wrap-up of things, then there will be the debrief out on Monday or Tuesday as well. Next week, loads of thank you for your contributions as well over on PayPal and whatnot. Links in the description if you do want to support the channel. Everything down there. Like I said earlier, more links than there is description. So please do check those out. And don't forget to subscribe to Dan's channel as well. Breathe, Sean. But as ever, thank you for watching. I've been Sean. This has been the F1 Word. And until next time, goodbye.